What ails India's education system? Growing inequality, politicization, privatization, over-regulation. How can we create an education system that is secular, creative and student-centric?
This conclave is here to raise an issue and debate.
These were some of the critical issues raised during the two-day Think Edu Conclave organized by the New Indian Express in Chennai.
A good educational model is the need of the hour.
62 speakers, including India's top lawmakers, prominent politicians,
particular section which is affected.
education stalwarts and corporate honchos put forth a variety of ideas and suggested ways towards schooling India for tomorrow.
Steered in the right direction.
Welcome to Think Education, the first education conclave of the New Indian Express Group. Theme of the conference, as all of you know, is schooling India not just for a better tomorrow, but for a best Bharat in the future. It's the first time that any media organization is raising a question whether India was able to develop its own education system. Do we have the power? Do we have the people? Do we have the administrators? Do we have the people who can give technology to the rest of the world? Can't give a better education system. Therefore, this conclave is here to raise an issue and debate that India needs its own Indian education system. We should not give premium to degree from Harvard only. Why not from Shastra University? Why not from Indian other university? That is the attempt we are trying to make this time.
For organizing this Think Edu Conclave.
Setting the tone for the conclave was former President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, who outlined the capacities that need to be inculcated in students to make them ideal nation builders.
Friends, education is a lifelong learning, particularly containing three components according to me. They are, number one, learning to learn. Number two, learning to live. Third one, learning to survive in difficulties. Students are the target for learning. From entry to the school, the students almost 12 years are in the learning process with 25,000 hours in the classroom, first to 12th standards. We have to ask ourselves whether we have these three components of education. I suggest the ingredient for capacity building must be embedded right from the beginning of the student's life, from primary education to higher education. A good educational model is the need of the hour to ensure that the students are developed as enlightened citizens and also participate in national development missions. For participating in nation building tasks, the capacities which students required are, the capacities required to be built among the students in their formative years by the educational institutions are the capacity for research or inquiry, questioning, the capacity for creativity and innovation, the capacity for use high technology, the capacity for entrepreneurial leadership, and the capacity for moral leadership.
We are here today discussing public education is RT the way forward.
In 2009, India guaranteed its citizens the right to education.
I think it's a good sign, first of all.
But has the RTE Act managed to uplift the dismal state of public education? The delegates at the conclave outlined how this act could be strengthened to fetch higher dividends.
The focus now has to shift on providing quality education in the entire primary, elementary and 10+2 school system. If I look at the RTE by itself, it may not be enough. Because the Right to Education Act was to bring the children into schools, to provide them with a very strong platform of quality education, but it has taken the other way around. I believe private sector needs to be brought into the school education program. Today, Bharti Foundation is running 254 village schools, giving free education to 38,000 children. We have 1,500 teachers who are on my rolls. We went ahead and made the buildings. And my view is we must go back into the state governments to adopt the government schools, into quality improvement programs to ensure that every rupee which is spent on education walks that much longer and brings more and more children into the education system.
The way the government is going on the RT model is the way forward. We are guaranteeing education, as everybody knows, to the disadvantaged people, the weaker sections. And let me underline at the very beginning that there might be a lot of suggestions, ways of improvements, ideas, but there is no debate on that this act is absolutely necessary for the betterment of this country. And you got to also understand the challenge is very big, where we have certain priorities with regard to weaker sections, minorities, backward areas. And those thrust areas, if the private sector is willing to take care of, it's more than welcome. We have to ensure that the new generation is steered in the right direction. It's given the right environment, a free ability to think, talk, say what they want, and to harness this young population is the challenge.
Now we have also heard in this morning all those significant
Former NCERT Director J.S. Rajput stressed on the need for an ever-evolving and knowledge-driven school syllabus, while other delegates talked about the viability of vocational degrees.
Normally we visualize syllabus for a particular subject. But the point is certain things are common to every discipline, every subject, every activity that takes place in the process of teaching and learning. And how do we do this? When we prepare a syllabus, I use the term curriculum, and go beyond knowledge to skills, values, ethics, etc. also, we are preparing the future of the nation.
If we do not raise our 15% manufacturing to 25%, you cannot in agriculture create meaningful value-added jobs that can pay the kind of salaries that can meet the aspirations of our people. You can educate somebody within 3 months and make him employable at 7,500 to 8,000 rupees a month. So it is certainly possible to do that, but unless we do that, we need 2 legs to run, so we need 1 leg which creates the capacity to compete for the country. And on the other side, we are not training people and pushing them out of schools, and we are going to create a lawless society.
Education and deregulation.
This concept also has its
Talking
own
about
implications.
government policies, stalwarts from the education sector spoke on the deregulation of education and discussed if better salaries could get us better teachers.
We all are very aware of the fact that the Indian scenario of higher education is indeed something which is marked with a great deal of enormity in terms of size, complexity. But I propose that if we really don't look at a system which is completely unregulated, because that's not the solution either. I propose 3 possible broad ways of going about it. I think at the systemic level in the government, we probably ought to have some kind of a development enabling framework. Accountability is center stage to all this. When we talk of autonomy, I think it cannot be divorced from accountability. And I think there should be another third agency which should be involved in trying to very objectively look at the assessment and accreditation, which can operate with a series of incentives and disincentives, because if we don't have that, we'll allow mediocrity to thrive, whether it's at the level of an institution or at the level of students.
The National Council for Higher Education and Research Bill 2011 has been approved by the Cabinet. And the basic idea is a shift from multiple approach-based regime to self-regulation based on accreditation. This concept also has its own limitations. Will it also deteriorate into a kind of bureaucratic institution, which again focuses on clout and control rather than encouraging the growth of education as it is?
I'm product of Banaras Hindu University, which was more or less a kind of private university which was settled in this country in the first time. I think the challenges at that time and then that university when it was established was very different than what we are facing it now. Now, of course, the dimensions have changed. We have slowly entered into the market kind of economy, but still it is not the money which drives people into an education system. We might be able to offer better salaries, but it is not the kind of ecosystem which has to be developed along with the university setup, the kind of bureaucratic setup, the kind of supportive system, and the kind of challenging environment which needs to be done. I think that is a more determined factor.
There is a consensus that money alone cannot make good teachers. And whatever we say, although we say teachers' functioning has changed, responsibilities have changed, demands from teachers have changed. Teachers are now facilitators, team leaders, managers, catalysts, not anymore, just deliverers of information and knowledge, still teaching and money to relate it too closely would be very dangerous in terms of values, in terms of actual result also.